Let's go back in time, way, way back, to a world before modern medicine, before hospitals, before we had answers for everything. A time when humanity had to face its suffering all on its own. This is a story of an incredible search for wisdom, a search born from pure desperation, a story that begins deep in the heart of ancient India. Just let that sink in for a second. Imagine a world without any easy answers, where something as simple as a fever could be a death sentence. It was out of this very suffering, though, that something truly timeless was about to be born. So, to really get where this knowledge came from, you have to picture the world it grew out of. And honestly, it was a world steeped in suffering, where just getting through the day was a battle. Illness was this constant shadow hanging over everyone. Wounds would fester without any antibiotics. Fevers would burn hotter and hotter with no explanation. And the kind of common sicknesses we don't even think twice about today, well, they could wipe out entire communities. And right alongside illness walked fear. The absolute terror surrounding childbirth, the constant threat of poisons from a snake bite or the wrong plant. And maybe the worst part? That deep, gut-wrenching fear of the unknown. Not knowing why people were getting sick or how on earth to help them. There just wasn't a system. People prayed, sure. They tried old remedies passed down in whispers from generation to generation, but there was no reliable, coherent science for healing. There was only uncertainty. But here's where the story turns. In the face of all this despair, something really remarkable started to happen. The wisest people of the time, the ancient sages, they didn't give in. They turned away from superstition and they looked to the one place they knew they could trust, nature itself. And their method? It was just deep, patient observation. They started simple, watching the plants, figuring out which ones could help heal a wound. Then they turned to food, noticing how different meals could literally change a person's energy. They saw the connection between the changing seasons and our own cycles of well-being. And then they made this huge leap, realizing that our minds, our very thoughts, were deeply connected to our physical health. And through all this watching and learning, one single powerful question started to take shape. It wasn't just, how do we cure this disease? No, it was so much deeper. It was, what truly creates health in the first place? Now, they had gathered this immense wisdom, but it was all scattered, like pieces of a giant puzzle. And the legend says that the moment it all came together, the moment it became a complete system, well, that didn't come from a man. It came from a moment of divine inspiration. As the story goes, the greatest sages of the age gathered in the Himalayas, their hearts just heavy with the suffering they saw all around them. They chose one from among them, the wisest sage Bharadwaja, to seek answers from a higher place. And in a state of deep meditation, the entire science of healing was revealed to him. But that moment, the revelation, that wasn't the end of the story. It was the beginning of a legacy, as Bharadwaja passed this incredible wisdom to his students, like the great Atreya, starting a chain of knowledge that would stretch across thousands of years. And just like that, this system was born, a complete, holistic science that wasn't just about curing illness, but about understanding life itself. They gave it a name, Ayurveda. It comes from two Sanskrit words, Ayur, which means life, and Veda, which means knowledge or science. So it literally translates to the science of life. Think about that. Not the science of disease, but the science of life. That's a huge shift in perspective. And it was a complete blueprint for how to live well. It taught that food could be your medicine, that sleep was a non-negotiable pillar of health, that your daily habits and how you adopt to the seasons matter a lot. It put huge importance on emotional well-being, and maybe most revolutionary of all, it was all about prevention before cure. It laid out a clear path for living a long, healthy life. So this divine knowledge then had to be tested, written down, and expanded on by these brilliant minds, the great masters who took this cosmic wisdom and made it a practical science for all of humanity. First up, there was Charaka. You could call him the ultimate physician of inner medicine. He was a master at diagnosis, at looking deep inside the body to figure out the root causes of what was going wrong. He documented this vast system that's still studied and respected to this very day. Then you have Sushruta, the master surgeon. And this is just mind-blowing. His famous text, the Sushruta Samhita, describes over 300 different surgical procedures. It details 120 different surgical instruments. He's often called the father of surgery, and yet he laid the foundations for what would become modern plastic surgery thousands of years ago. Incredible. And finally, there was Vagbhata. He was the great synthesizer. He took the deep internal medicine of Charaka and the incredible surgical knowledge of Sushruta and wove them together. He made this vast, profound wisdom accessible and practical for doctors and everyday people. He was the one who built the bridge for everyone else to cross.
Okay, so that's a pretty epic ancient story. But what does any of it have to do with our lives right now, with our smartphones and our 24/7 schedules? Well, as it turns out, pretty much everything.
See, the challenges we face, they've changed on the surface, but the core struggle is the same. The backbreaking physical toil of the ancient world, that's been replaced by the crushing weight of chronic stress. The threat of famine and scarcity, today we face an epidemic of lifestyle diseases. And that ancient uncertainty of the unknown has just morphed into the modern anxiety of information overload and total burnout. And when you look at it that way, in our modern world of burnout and constant stress, this ancient system's focus on balance, on prevention, on the connection between our minds and our bodies, it doesn't feel old at all. It suddenly feels radical. Thousands of years have gone by. Our machines got smarter, our hospitals got bigger, our medicines became unbelievably powerful. And yet, through all of that incredible progress, Ayurveda is still quietly asking the one simple, profound question that so many of us have completely forgotten to ask ourselves. How should a human being live?